for today's event, uh, Unlocking Your Potential, a Journey to Leadership. I am joining you from Turkey, and I'm proud to represent Turkish social entrepreneurship as its founder. Today, we are privileged to have with us esteemed panelists who have significantly contributed to fostering personal and professional growth and have exhibited impactful leadership in their respective fields. They will offer unique insight into how we can succeed aims to going to change in our business and social landscape, and how we can integrate purpose, profit, and impact into our leadership approach. One of our panelists is Rana Şeker, who has been leading in change management and cultural transformation for over 2 decades. She is passionate about creating sustainability culture within global corporations. Our other panelist, Ümit, has held various leadership position over 16 years and is currently progressing in his career as a professional coach. He brings a rich background, having lived and worked in a blend of culture from Turkey, USA, the UK, and Germany. Our discussion today will explore the nuances of strategic leadership, the importance of cultural and social sustainability, and how we can all embed purpose, profit, and impact into our leadership style. It's time to meet our panelists and dive into a conversation that promises to be enlightening, inspiring, transformative. Thank you for joining us, and let's make this journey together a memorable one. Let's start by getting to know Rana. Could you share with us your journey in change management and how you have integrated sustainability into your work?
Wow, thank you. Thanks for the invite, Bahar. I really feel privileged to be with you today, with you, all our participants, with Ümit. I really do believe that Catalyst Change Week has always been very important to radiate impact, and it's really nice to be a part of it. So, as you said, you have talked about 2 decades, but I'm going to say 3. I have 30 plus years of experience in business life. I know, but, you know, I'm just mature and experienced. I'm not old. So it's just, you know, the experience that counts here. I have 30 plus years of experience in business life, and I have started as audit assistant. And 12 years later, I quit finance as the CFO after working for PricewaterhouseCoopers, Procter & Gamble in Turkey, in Central Asia, Caucasia, back to Turkey for Perfetti Van Melle, Pernod Ricard, and a few more. In 2004, together with my friend, you know, like-minded people, we have co-founded RNA Change Management. Our aim was to facilitate change and transformation in organizations, in society, communities. But I guess deep down, we were hoping to be a trigger or act as a catalyst for a better, bigger change in the world. So for the last 20 years, I am an organizational change and transformation lead. So along the way, I realized that to solidify sustainable change, we need to change people's mindsets, values, behaviors. And in return, these deep changes lead to the transformation of the culture those people belong to. So this realization led me to focus on cultural transformation. And now I know that if I want to check whether a corporate that claims to be a leader in gender equity is really one, then I know that I should not only look at the female-male ratio, but look deeper into the culture of this company. And in my opinion, we can only understand whether people genuinely value gender equity and behave in a way to ensure that they create such an environment, if we can have a picture of the current culture. So in 2017, our company had decided to guide corporates into change and transformation process to create a better, bigger, more scalable impact, both within and outside of their organization. So we have started to work in Africa, Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, as well as our own country, Turkey. And we have noticed that we can create a sustainability culture with our change and transformation management experience and knowledge if we bring them together with our project management, cultural transformation, and finance background. So our new business unit, the impact management, led us to integrate sustainability, transformation, and culture. So here it is, my journey in a nutshell. But before turning the microphone to you, Bahar, I want to share my perspective about one's potential. Because, you know, at the end of the day, this panel is all about the potential, unlocking one's potential. So I'm in the process of having my master in sustainability management at the age of 55. You know, because I really believe we need to do our best for the future, for the next generations. And I believe, you know, I have all the parts of what we need to transform the corporates that are the backbones of the societies. And I believe I have the potential to make my dream of making the world a better place than I have found. So in my opinion, one of the most serious sins is not to use one's potential. I believe this because, you know, to me, it's denying what has given us as a gift. So that's why I value, you know, I'm passionate about, you know, sustainability. I'm passionate about leadership. I'm passionate about culture, change, transformation. But what I believe is, you know, anything and everything is based on realizing our potential. So we need to be aware and we need to unlock that so that we can really create an effect and impact. And with that, Bahar.
Yeah, thank you so much for your sharing and your journey. It's so inspiring to me, for me, and for my generation. Actually, I'm a Gen Z, and yeah. And then, Ümit, could we also get to know you? Please share a bit about your background and your journey in leadership and coaching, please.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, hello to everybody. It's great to be here. And thank you, Bahar, for helping us organize this. I couldn't have said it any better than Rana just finished. I mean, nothing else to add from that perspective. Very powerful statements by Rana. And to be honest, it's also very nice to be here together with Rana because Rana and I are friends. We know each other for a very long time. She's been my mentor for many years, and she's been very impactful actually on my journey as a leader. So quite meaningful to be here today. Two things about me. One, I'm a very emotional person. So I see that I've come to understand in recent years that this is actually a superpower, to be an emotional person. I wasn't of that opinion many years ago. So why do I say this? Because with that emotional personality comes a lot of passion. And when we talk about leadership and sustainability and social sustainability, you know, I get extremely passionate, and I want to talk, and I want to share, and I want to inspire, and I want to learn, you know, from others as well, and listen. So as I speak, please bear that in mind. If I speak too fast, or if, you know, I say too much, feel free, Bahar, as we discussed, to just interrupt and keep us disciplined. Um, I took some notes here today because the subject of leadership and social sustainability is such a big topic, and especially being here during this catalyzing change week is amazing. So I may look down on my screen from time to time. Please don't see that as a sign of disrespect or disengagement, but rather me trying to structure my thoughts. And what I want to do today is share a little bit my personal story and perspectives on leadership and the critical impact actually leadership has on enabling social sustainability, especially now in today's age with all the global pressing challenges around us. You know, it's very important that we exchange on this subject and we learn from each other. The way I will be addressing the topic of social sustainability today will be from two angles. One is compassionate leadership, and the second one is around defining strategies for leaders to enable sustainable performance. So it's these kind of two angles that I will be talking from, just so you have that in mind. Some more snippets about myself. 16 years of professional experience, half of which was in corporate finance, so investment banking and private equity. And then I moved into a corporate and spent several years as a corporate leader. I come from a multicultural background, so from a German mother and a Turkish father. And through my life, basically, I found my role as being the bridge between cultures, being the bridge between people. And that really brought the topic of compassion really into my life. At an early age, I learned to, have empathy, show compassion, and make it somehow work, build bridges. And I think that's, a great experience. It wasn't easy either, but it was a good experience. I live in Berlin with my wife and 4-year-old son. I love sports, I love music, I love traveling. And my latest passion is coaching, which just makes me feel alive, to be honest. These are all enriching activities that help me challenge myself, help me switch off, and also help me see things from a different perspective, which is very unique in this day and age with so much information around us. I'm very passionate about leadership because Bahar knows I always kind of use the phrase leadership is everywhere, because I just see the potential everywhere. And I think all of us somehow do. There's leadership in parenting, there's leadership in sports, there's leadership in business, there's leadership everywhere. And what I want to do is develop myself basically as a leader and inspire others actually to see that potential as well, and do something with it. I think it links back to what Rana said earlier. We have been given a gift. Let's use that gift. So yeah, thank you. This is a little bit about myself and look forward to the discussion. Back to you, Bahar.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your sharing. Ladies and gentlemen, to kick off our discussion today, I would like to direct our first question to Ümit. Ümit, given our extensive background in leadership, how do you think the concept of leadership has evolved in recent years within the modern workspace? Additionally, what attributes are now seen as most valuable for leaders in this new area? What do you think?
So I think the key word here is, Bahar, thank you. The key word here is era, in this new era. And the way I want to describe it is just for you to imagine the way I look at it in my mind is it's kind of a world of two polar opposites. It's a world where on the left you have a lot of doing, it's a fast-paced environment, disruption, chaos, meeting targets, making your sales, consuming, producing, doing. So that's one side of the polar spectrum, which I, to a large extent, affiliate with traditional ways of leading. So command and control, more dominant ways of leading, which, if we look at the results in today's world, where we are as humanity and our planet, we may want to question if that, the leadership styles of the past and the ones that are maybe very prevalent still today are actually working. Are they doing us a favor? Are they actually moving us forward or not? So that's the left side of the spectrum, is the doing and the leading with dominance and a bit of command and control. The far right spectrum is the one I actually want to talk about today, because that's the one I think we need to bring back more, which is the being, the just existing and leading with humanity. I feel that in recent years and decades, as humanity, we have over-rotated on the doing bit. We have over-rotated on traditional ways of leading. And that's just my personal feeling. I'm happy to be challenged, but I think we have lost a little bit touch to the human side of things, to the just existing, sometimes just not doing anything, slowing down before we do the next thing. So for me, in this era, I see these two polar spectrums, leading with dominance and the doing, and leading with humanity and the being. Now, the point I want to make today about leadership is, my personal view is it's not one or the other. It's how can we make the two coexist actually, and how do we use, or how do we as leaders develop that judgment, that intuition to deploy different leadership styles in different situations based on whatever the right outcome is, either in the short term or in the long term. And here's where I bring it back to social sustainability, because as leaders, we often find ourselves in systems that are driving short-term goals, but actually the long-term game. And, some people, like some very astonished speakers, talk about the infinite game or the long game. How do we not take our eye off of the long game? And how do we manage the balance between the two, where we still focus on delivering and doing and making the systems work and produce and output, but equally we bring in that element of balance with a human touch, with kindness, with just existing. And that's why when you talk about Bahar attributes, what I didn't want to do today is list 15 or 16 attributes that are boilerplate that everyone could Google and with ChatGPT find. What I want to focus on is one single attribute, which I think is the most important one, which is compassion. And it very much links back to the human way of leading. Because to me, compassion is empathy in action. And again, I think the LinkedIn CEO said that very well back in the day. Empathy is nothing without action. So having the two side by side actually then creates that real compassion as a leader. It's when a leader actually demonstrates integrity, where all of us work in certain systems and companies and organizations where we all have visions and missions and values and behaviors. But do we really see enough of those words that we see on pages and websites actually being translated into reality with real actions that our leaders are demonstrating and modeling? And that's again the concept of shadow of the leader. So compassion is empathy in action. And for empathy, for me, the key bit, my lesson learned in life was I was trying to be compassionate, but there's a huge element of emotional intelligence behind being compassionate. If you break down emotional intelligence, it's basically two main building blocks. One is how you manage yourself, and the other one is how you manage your relationship with others. And if the self-management isn't there, and it's not in a way that it creates internal abundance, so to speak, or capacity to lead, then it's very difficult to actually go out into the world and lead and make an impact in a positive way. So, and I think the expression, you can't pour from an empty glass, hits the nail on the head here. As leaders, my biggest lesson was I was trying to pour as from an empty glass, and to be honest, it destroyed me almost. So it's that bit around working on ourselves, being compassionate on ourselves while we do things so that we can go out there with capacity and lead others and serve others and do good in the world. Now, this also links to what Rana, I believe, is going to talk about shortly, which is about driving change. I think Obama said this once, and I may be wrong, but I remember it this way. To drive change, we can either sit outside the system and be an activist, or we can be inside the system and drive the change internally, one step at a time. Very small changes, but they're changes, and they're transformative if they are done in a way that is compassionate to ourselves and the ones we lead. And I think if these two polar opposites between the doing and the being and the judgment to use the full spectrum of a leadership approach in today's world, if we can make that happen, if our leaders in the world can start embracing that more and more, I really believe, strongly believe actually, that the outcome, things like social, justice, gender equality, climate, all the wars and security concerns around the world, I mean, a lot of the things that are currently actually damaging the sustainability of the human race and the planet will start being resolved one by one. So, this is kind of the big picture that I wanted to share today. And I hope that with what I've just laid out, kind of that is my intention is actually to send a message that we can create a system that feeds off of itself, and where the results around sustainability actually get generated naturally and automatically. Thanks, Bahar.
Yeah. Thank you, Ümit, for sharing your perspective on the transformation of leadership attributes in today's dynamic work environment. This discussion about the evolving nature of leadership naturally lead us to consider the broader organizational culture within which these leaders operate. Leadership and culture are profoundly interconnected, as effective leadership can often be a driving force in shaping a positive and inclusive organizational culture. With that in mind, I would like to turn to Rana. Rana, considering your extensive experience in driving cultural change within organizations, what challenges have you faced when implementing initiatives focused on enhancing gender diversity and sustainability? Moreover, how have you managed to overcome these challenges to foster a more inclusive and sustainable organizational culture?
Well, thank you. Great question. And by the way, Ümit, I can undersign everything you have said. You can write a memorandum, and then send to me and I will undersign. And, I definitely agree with everything you have said. So, back to cultural transformation, back to diversity, back to sustainability. Well, you have asked me about the cultural change toward gender diversity or creating a sustainability culture. But I need to say that cultural transformation, be it for creating a sustainability culture or a culture of inclusion, innovation, entrepreneurship, the frameworks, models, or methodologies we implement are similar. So that's why I'm gonna talk about a general cultural transformation process, but then we're gonna talk about specifically about gender equity. The process of transformation, especially cultural transformation, is based on people's desire to understand, apply, and encourage the transformation. The hardest point for most leaders and professionals, and they don't get it, is that to change the organization, we need to change people. And unfortunately, we cannot change them. We can only inspire people. We can only convince individuals, guide them, coach them, mentor them toward this specific change or transformation. There are two quotes I definitely love. One of them belongs to Aldous Huxley. I think all of you know Braver. Aldous Huxley said, I wanted to change the world, but I have found that the only change one can be sure of changing is oneself. And Rumi, one of my favorites, Rumi said, yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I'm changing myself. You cannot change people. You shouldn't push them, What you can do is to inspire them, to convince them. So this is the most important fact we all need to remember in all areas of our life. You cannot change your kids. You cannot change your partner. you cannot change your customer. You cannot change the leaders, of the organization where you work. You can only inspire them to change. You can only convince them to change, guide them to change. So, and this is also, applicable in gender equity, in sustainability projects too. So once you understand that, then the challenges in cultural transformation in any company about any values or behaviors are the usual ones, like unconscious bias, fear of uncertainty, sometimes lack of leadership support, lack of resources, but mostly fear of losing, be it power, the comfort zone, the status. And you have asked me about the challenges, so I love to separate those challenges into two categories: the ones related to company directly, like the lack of resources or the fear of losing profit or market share, and the ones related to individuals, like the fear of losing or the unconscious bias, etc. So, how do we handle them? What they are, if we look at the corporate challenges, let's focus on them. I mainly face the problem of the lack of resources in the organizations from the organization's part. They say that they don't have enough resources, or the people are not really, the workforce is not able to handle the change, etc. So we tell them that there is a decision to be made in that case. And as cultural transformation lead, we try to understand, the extent of the change impact, the extent of the change risk if they cannot fulfill, the project, if they cannot finish it. So we assess the organizational capacity for change and change readiness. And what is important here is the capacity for change of the organization and of the workforce, including leadership, organizational leadership. So after a careful analysis, sometimes we find out that the company should start smaller without a complete transformation project yet. For example, if they want to have an inclusive culture, then they can start with increasing their capacity, focusing on creating growth mindset in the workforce, so that the workforce might be more flexible, more open to change, more open to face their biases, their prejudices, the stereotypes they believe in and they act on. So, most of the time, it's better to wait while the organization gets ready for that specific change than start and fail. So, and on the other hand, we tell them that they can create specific workforce teams to find ways to integrate those values and behaviors they want to ingrain into their company's DNA without sacrificing from their profit. And the second group of challenges, which are related to leaders and employees, the workforce, they are mostly the causes of the resistance in change and transformation management. It's one of the basic category that we focus in change and transformation management. Ask any change management professional, just go and look at the standards of the Association of Change Management Professionals. You will see a specific chapter for resistance management, and most of them lies in the challenges related to people, individual. So, there is fear here. And the trick is to balance the fear with the desire. And this is also applicable in individual change management too. We are scared of something, and in order to take a step forward, we need to find something we desire more than the one we fear. So it's the same here. And the question we ask is, what are you sacrificing in order to get what? And sometimes, you work with the workforce and the leaders, and you see that they can let go of their status for health or their comfort zone for the future of their kids, or maybe they can live with uncertainty, for a time, for equity or justice. And sometimes they notice that they don't really give up anything important, and this is just a perception of a risk. It's not the risk itself. So this kind of challenges, we work with them very closely, and and sometimes on top of these, we see the lack of support from the organizational leadership. And then we need to understand what is going on there. So the communication, empathy, understanding, transparency, crystal clear explanation of the goal and its benefits, as well as compassion, as we mentioned, are among the remedies. So we work with coaches, mentors, trainers, and to create awareness and to encourage them ask questions to themselves, to face their fears. I'm gonna finish, but just let me add one sentence.
Of course, of course.
Okay, so I want to add that specifically in diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging projects, where we fight for gender equity, I believe it's important to clearly define what the company wants and what we mean with those concepts. A friend of mine once told me her definition of diversity, inclusion, and belonging, and I really loved them. So she said, diversity for her, it means you dance, I dance. Inclusion, means we dance all together. And belonging means I can dance however I want, because I know that you all will accept me as I am. So in my opinion, if we want to create an inclusive culture, we need to create a sense of belonging. And that sense of belonging will help individuals to unlock their potential more than anything, because they will know that they will be accepted as they are by the company, by the leadership, and by their peers. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Rana, for those valuable insights into overcoming resistance and fostering inclusive sustainability cultures within organization. Your experience highlights the crucial role that leaders play in driving cultural transformation. Now, building on the theme of leadership and its impact on organizational culture, let's shift our focus slightly towards individual leadership development. As leaders navigate increasingly complex and competitive industries, the need for leadership and adaptability becomes even more critical. Umit, based on your extensive experience in coaching and mentoring, what strategies would you recommend to emerging leaders to help them unlock their potential and overcome common challenges in today's competitive industries?
Thank you, Bahar. And I think this is perfect because I can dock on to what how Rana just finished. I wouldn't say extensive experience, but I would say I have some experience. Definitely not 3 decades like Rana, but some years. So I think the way, Rana, you just said it, I actually really love that. What is that one thing we as people are so passionate about our gift, whatever, that we are willing, to overcome our biggest fears. I think that is a very powerful sentence. And you'll see now as I explain what I'm going to say, it's actually embedded into what the strategies I want to recommend today. Now, there's 3 strategies I want to talk about, or 3 recommendations. They're all based on personal experience, many years of many mistakes, and yeah, let's just say they are from real life experience, not textbook. Before I go into the 3, I want to talk about one key principle, which I think is principle number 0 in leadership. And it's something I learned as I started leading. It's about understanding that leadership is actually a privilege. And someone once said to me, now that you're leading people, you will be the topic of conversation, in the evenings when your employees go back home with their families and they sit down, you will be the topic of conversation. Because the environment I created, or we create as leaders, is where these individuals exist every day in and day out. So, it's quite a privilege to lead. And with that privilege comes huge amount of responsibility, because again, like I said in the first question that Bahar posed me around the 2 polar opposites on the spectrum, it's about moving away from doing. It's about going into actually enabling those that are doing, majority of the work. It's about starting to lean in more into our human strength, and we can do that at any level. But I'm just saying, someone that moves from an individual contributor to a leader, very key to be aware of that. It's about enabling those that we lead. It's about, opening the way for them, coaching them, guiding them, like Rana said, inspiring them, because we won't be able to tell them which way to go. They will do what they think is right, but it's about us really embracing that privilege to lead and serving with that mindset. So that's kind of, I think, the foundation of it all. So I want to talk about 3 things. Number 1, I would say, as a leader, the thing I noticed, and I asked myself a couple years into leadership, is why actually do I want to lead? And it's back to kind of that thing that Rana said. What is that one thing that I'm so passionate about, that I want to lead, that I want to make an impact, and I want to do it my way, And there could also be some pain involved in how we were raised, how we, the experiences we went through in life. I mean, a lot of stuff can define what our purpose and cause is to lead in life. And, and I think, and when we really align with that cause, when we're aware of it, and it doesn't happen overnight, it takes years to really find that purpose, that cause, and refine it and keep refining it, because we're changing constantly as well. And the systems around us are changing. It's about then really embracing and understanding that, with that clarity of why do I exist? What am I here to do? And making the impact with that kind of mindset, that we are destined to make as individuals, as leaders. And like I said in the beginning, leadership is everywhere. I see everybody on the planet, however many we are now, 7-8 billion, as a leader. We are all leaders in our own capacity and in different environments. So that's that. So what's your cause? What's your purpose? Number 2, I want to talk about sustainable performance, because one thing that I always kind of thought about is, well, kind of any leader can grow anything. I think we're all capable to grow stuff, grow companies, grow organizations, just make it bigger and bigger. The question is, at what cost are we making things bigger? So that is the key to me, is how much, does it cost us? And is it sustainable, the way we do it, for ourselves, the ones we lead, and the systems in which we operate in? So that's why there's this formula that I came across in the last 6 months, which I love. Most of you may know it. I came across only 6 months ago, which is sustainable high performance equals potential minus internal and external barriers. And that formula can be applied to anything. So if we dissect the formula, sustainable high performance is an outcome. So we don't have to worry about that as long as the ingredients of the formula work. If we then move over to potential, that's fixed too. We all come to this planet with a certain amount of potential, whether we are aware or we're not. The potential is there. We don't have to worry about it. What we need to worry about in that equation is the internal and external barriers. And this is where I really would recommend every leader, and I still do it, and I will continue to do it for many, many years, is understanding, again, with that compassion and empathy that I spoke about earlier, how do I go inwards as a leader? How do I do that painful work of understanding who am I? Where did I come from? What habits did I actually form over the years? Which habits used to serve me in the past that no longer serve me today? What kind of beliefs and assumptions and prejudices am I running around with in the world that are just holding me back? As a leader, if it's the privilege to lead, it's my responsibility as a leader to knock down those internal barriers and do that painful work, because it's my responsibility to be compassionate towards myself. So actually, I can have the capacity to lead others. So it's about years and years of work to knock down internal barriers that I kind of want to underline here. And then when we go out into the world, the external barriers, well, what are they? We don't exist individually on this planet, right? We are all connected. We are all sources of energy, somehow connected, either living in the same household, in the same building, working in the same companies, living in the same country. If I make a change, if I do something in this world, it will impact somebody else. And I think there is a philosophy, I believe it's an African philosophy that I love, which is, I am because you are. And being aware of that, and when we work on ourselves to create the capacity to do good externally, we actually come out into the world and show up as leaders to really make a positive impact using that capacity. And that's where systems leadership becomes key, because we don't lead ourselves only in a system where we care about ourselves or our imminent, say, imminent people around us. It's about leading an entire system, being aware, emotionally aware of how the way we lead impacts the whole system and what barriers there may be, back to Rana's point around resistance and barriers that need to be knocked down for change to actually happen. So this formula I find really, really important, because if we get that right, and I'm working on it myself personally, I think sustainable performance, sustainability goals, and playing the long game right is a natural outcome. The third point that I want to mention is, and this is a hard lesson I learned, I'll be honest, is around don't try to do it all, and don't try to do it all on your own. I think what this third point for me boils down to is vulnerability. It's the ability to say, I don't know, or I am struggling. I need help. I can't anymore, things like that. I found myself, when I was a new leader, I found myself in this kind of mindset of, I have to be strong, I have to know which direction we're going, I got to tell. And no, the best thing actually that I learned was, back to the polar opposites and playing on that spectrum of leadership, is actually lean into my human side and just show that I can be vulnerable, show I don't know. Because amazing things happened after that. The moment I said I'm struggling or I don't know, I had a team, an organization that was lifting me up, that was stepping above and beyond their current remits to tap into their full potential, actually, to lift me and others up. And it's really empowering to see that, because ultimately, the human way of leading is about creating and generating new leaders, not to just create followers that are dependent. So that would be my third point around really practicing vulnerability, and practice it with small things, because it's a habit that needs forming. And I wasn't very good at it, to be honest. I still don't think I'm good at it, but I'm working on it. And I think one step at a time, we will all get there. So these three things: what's your cause, sustainable performance formula, and be vulnerable. Ask for help, be human. Be human. That's the most important thing I think we need in today's world. To wrap up, Bahar, at the end of the day, it's really about, what do we care about? Why do we care? And how do we show we care? And this is one thought I would love to leave with you today, and I'm going to try and do the same today. What's one thing we can all do today to show we're human. Whether it's calling a friend that we haven't called in years, whether it's calling a colleague we know who's been struggling, whether it's sitting in the park and just listening to some good music, whether it's going into the next meeting and you see the most silent person in the meeting and you make an effort to actually give that person space to talk, to share their ideas. So
Totally.
it's one thing I would love to leave with you. I'm going to try and do one today. Maybe I'll go to the park, listen to the birds, and maybe listen to some good music, take some breaths, and relax. But yeah, these are the 3 strategies with the privilege to lead up front that I wanted to share with you today. And hopefully that links well into what Rana said around what is that one thing you really believe so strongly in that you're willing to jump above your fears and break through. Thanks, Bahar. With that, again, back to you.
Thank you, Mit. I'm totally agree with you, actually. For outlining essential strategies that leaders can employ to navigate and excel in competitive environments, your emphasis on your continuous personal development and adaptability not only sets a framework for success, but also prepares leaders to effectively manage and implement change. Building on this discussion about leadership and its pivotal role in change management, we recognize that successful leaders are not just change agents within their organizations, but also champions of inclusivity and diversity. This dual role is particularly crucial when it comes to advancing women's participation in areas traditionally dominated by men, which can be transformative for an organization's culture and performance. With this context in mind, I would like to turn our discussion to specific aspects of change management. Rana, could you share with us a successful project or initiative where you not only achieved your goals in change management, but also made significant strides in advancing women's role within the organization or community? This will provide us with a practical example of integrated leadership and change management can drive sustainable cultural transformation. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, with pleasure. And now you have a very important, mission, Bahar. That is to help me stop talking within 10 minutes so that,
Okay,
everyone can leave as we have promised at the right time. So this is a subject I'm passionate about. I really love to share, my experiences. As you know, as you can guess, I have so many experience about the transformation and change management. But you have talked about your question, was about social sustainability and the kind of woman's role. So there is that company I have worked with in 2014. Why I'm going that back is because this specific project was a first in Turkey. So that's why I wanted to share, because that project had some aspects, we still struggle to explain to organizational leadership in some companies. And back then it was like a, revolution. So the company, I really don't like to give the name of the company, but if you are from Turkey, you would know it's an energy company. It's a giant company, a male-dominant company in a male-dominant industry. So, when they came to us, they were not really happy about the fact that there was only one C-level woman, the CHRO, the Chief Human Resources Officer. And, the N-2, so the backup of the C-level, and the backup of the backup, N-3, also lack any female presence. So there were no, women leaders, no women managers in the company. And then, they were under normal circumstances, they were really happy with the situation. But the company was part of a big holding company led by a woman. So the winds of change was strong in the mother company, umbrella company. So the organizational leadership, guided by the CHRO, they have decided to do something, and they have decided to create a talent pool for women, and to provide a positive discrimination so that they can balance things in the short run. So yeah, we have designed a project for them, and the project had 4 parts in it. The first one, as anyone can guess, was to work with the women working in different levels of the company, not just the woman that had leadership potential, because we do believe that everyone has potential, but it's just a matter to write calls, the right action, the right training, the right process that would bring it out. So we have really decided to work with all those women in the company, the white collar women, as well as some of the blue colors. So what we did is to design an awareness program, and there we have provided not only trainings, coachings, mentoring, but we have worked with them. We have prepared vision boards. We have encouraged them to dream, and then to discover their inner barriers, and that led to realizing their potential. And with that realization comes with the self-confidence and the desire for self-growth. They have, the most important thing for me is that they have discovered how much of their fears and values and beliefs belonged genuinely to them. So, they were ready to be their authentic self. And to me, this is the basis to create a female-friendly organization. This is the basis of creating an inclusive culture. This is the basis of creating a sense of belonging in a company. And then, we have continued by creating a platform where women can share between them, all those barriers, the successes, what went good, what did not work, all those inspiring videos, speeches, asking for help, asking for advice, sharing what they live. So we created, kind of support network aiming to bring women together rather than letting them compete for any kind of position they might have. So helping each other in their quest to be the leaders, first in their own life, then in their family, community, company, was our main goal. And Ümit told us about doing it all, and how that led him to a kind of burnout. That's what we wanted to prevent for those women. That's why we wanted them to have a support network formed by like-minded people living the same kind of problems, having similar values, that had been raised in similar cultures. So that was a huge success, because the feeling of loneliness, being alone, that's that's, that's what lead us to freeze and then run away. That's what we have tried to, eliminate along the way. And then the first time in Turkey, we have decided to work with men. In 2014, all the women leadership, female leadership projects were focused on women. But, the logic is simple. We need to work with men. There were 10 board members, for example, in that company, and 9 of them were men. So if one of them left, then the male majority would decide who was going to replace that member. So most of the time, even now, we know that most of the time men decide in companies, since they are in power and they have the power to make the final decision. And that's why we have provided group coaching sessions, for example, and started by asking them how they would feel if their own daughters, for example, would face the same obstacles and, try to survive and be successful in a similar situation. These kind of questions made all the differences. And we really have learned interesting facts. Like some managers were not promoting women because they wanted to protect them, since, sometimes you go to houses and cut the electricity, and they didn't want women to do that because they were thinking that females, women, are needed protection. So they are not strong enough. But instead, a man can go and fight. That was the logic, which is funny. It's not. I can understand, but it's still difficult to accept. So facing with those, we have managed to help them to face their unconscious biases. The project was a success, and I believe the main reason is the huge support from the leadership of the organization and also the leadership of the holding company. Yep. I guess that's all from my side. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bahar. Back to you.
Thank you, Rana. As a young woman in male-dominated industry, I have encountered numbers of challenges, but each have offered the chance to pave the ways of others, actually, for me. And actually, I have to say, we are thrilled to have you, Rana, on our advisory board and on our Turkish advisory board. Your presence brings us invaluable insight and strengthens our commitment to advancing our goals. Actually, I would like to say that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we drove this insightful session to a close, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to our esteemed panelists, Rana and Ümit, for their invaluable contributions today. Your experience and perspective have enriched our understanding of leadership, change management, and the essential of inclusivity in the process. I hope that today's dialogue inspires each of you to think about how you can actively participate in shaping a more inclusive, sustainable, and equitable future. Thank you for all joining us in this enriching conversation. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Bye.